Hi, I'm Phyllis and my website is southernfrugal.com. Tonight we're going to make a lemon supreme cake, and we're going to make it in the Bundt pan. And I'm going to use Baker's Joy, which many people had recommended to use in the Bundt pan so it would the cake would not stick. Now I've already tried this making a cake in my regular Martha Stewart little pound cake pan, and it definitely works. So we're going to try it in the Bundt pan. So this is going to be a cake that can be easily made. Let me move y'all back. Easily made by people who work or retirees. Hold on, my thing is not right here. Let me get y'all right. Okay, now you're right. All right, so we're going to use the Duncan Hines Lemon Supreme cake mix. Now, this cake mix is not the same number of ounces that it was in the 1960s, which is when this cake was made with Apricot Nectar. Now, here's the other thing. I don't know if y'all can find apricot nectar in your area, but nowhere have I been able to find it in our location. So what we're going to do is use just a can of apricots, and even they were hard to find. So if you can't find them, you can certainly use peaches, but I would try for the apricots. So what we're going to do to make our own apricot nectar, we're going to grind up this can of apricots along with some of the syrup. And we're going to use our food processor to make the whole cake. Alright, so what I'm going to do is dump about half of the juice that's in this can, and this is a 15.2 ounce can. I'm going to dump out about half of it. Alright, I've dumped out about half the juice that was in the can. So we're going to dump this in the food processor, and all we're going to do is grind it up and make our own apricot nectar. I'll get my lid to go on. There. Alright, this will be a little loud, so So that's going to be about the consistency that you would get if you had purchased some apricot nectar, if you could find it. So what we want to do now is dump it out and see if we've got 1 cup, because that's all we really need, 1 cup of apricot nectar. That's going to come out to be almost exactly 1 cup. And we're just going to leave that in the food processor. That'd be probably about maybe a tablespoon still left in there, but that's okay. So we're going to dump the apricot nectar back in there. Get that out of the cup. And now we're going to add to this 1/2 cup of oil. Now back in the 60s, we didn't have any problem using Crisco Oil. So that's what I'm using, Crisco Oil. 1/2 cup. And we're going to use 3 large eggs. Just dump those in. Alright, now this is going to be really, really quick. We're going to go ahead and mix this up. So, a little loud. Alright, that's all we need right there. Now we're going to put our cake mix in. This is really, really quick, and it is quite delicious, I will tell you. Even though it's a cake mix, it's very, very good. Alright, so we're just going to dump it in. Lemon Supreme cake mix is what this is. Let me show you the box again. This is the one that you want to get. Duncan Hines Lemon Supreme. Alright, so we're going to put the lid right back on. Mix this up again. Make sure there's nothing there I need to scrape down, and there is. I see some little bits of cake mix on the side of this, so we're just going to scrape it down, mix it just a teeny bit more. That's all we need. Now the cake mix is ready. Now I'm going to step off camera to spray this because I'm going to put it down in my sink because I can't stand that spray all over my counters. You have to clean it up then, or all over my little workstation here. So of course with the Baker's Joy it tells you to shake it well. We're going to go ahead and spray it at the sink. So I'll be right back. Alright, we got it all sprayed, and every little nook and cranny is covered. Alright, so now all we have to do is take this and dump it right into our pan. You do not have to mix it as long when you make it in the food processor. And a cake mix size usually fits just fine into the, this is an inexpensive food processor, so if you've got one that's a little bigger, it will definitely fit. Alright, let me take that out. Scrape that off too, best I can. Now I've got my oven preheated to 325 degrees. Now when I make this in my other pan, it only takes about 35 minutes, but I'm not sure how long it will take in this pan. I'm guessing about the same amount of time. Got it all in there now. You can see the little bits of apricot nectar in there. Just kind of bang it around a little bit and see if some of those bubbles come to the top. Alright y'all, we're going to put this in the oven, and we'll be back and we'll just check it at 35 minutes and see if it's done. We'll be back. I can't cut my camera off. I don't have a clean finger. Alright, the cake is in the oven, and again you want your oven preheated to 325 degrees. So I just want to go over this part again. You probably are not going to find apricot nectar. If you can, great, because all you need is 1 cup. But if you can't find it, look for just regular canned halves of apricots. And usually you're going to find this on a top shelf where the other cans of fruit are, because not many people buy these. But anyway, if you absolutely can't find them, you could use peaches. But what you want to do is dump half the liquid in this can out. And this is a 15.25 ounce can. You want to dump about half of it out, and then just put the whole thing in the food processor and grind it up. And you're going to have apricot nectar. Now mine made probably a tablespoon over a cup, but that was okay. Also, you need the Duncan Hines Lemon Supreme cake mix. You need an oil like Crisco oil. And for the topping that we're going to put on this cake, it's really just kind of like a sauce, really. Juice from one lemon, and you want to make sure it's a big, juicy lemon. And we're going to use confectionery sugar to just make kind of a little drizzle to go over the cake, but that's what's going to make it so good, so don't skip this part. So we'll be back. The cake's been in the oven. I cleaned up in here maybe about 5 or 6 minutes. We'll be back when it's done. All right. All right, the cake cooked exactly 35 minutes, and you see it's perfectly done. So we want to let it sit in the pan for just a few minutes while we make a little sauce to go on it. So I'm going to back y'all up like that. All right. So the little sauce that's going to go on it takes 1 cup of confectionery sugar, and I'm going to use a large lemon like that. I've just got my little thing sitting right on the cup. Now I don't know, we might need even the juice of another lemon, but you want to start out with 1 cup of confectionery sugar, and then you can see how much juice you'll need. These lemons have got a lot of seeds in them, and my mother always said, pick lemons that have got a lot of seeds, they'll be the best lemons, and I think she was right. All right. Now let's see how it's going to look when we mix this up. That should work just fine. Yes, it will. So that was a fairly large lemon. So all we're going to do is just mix this up. Let me just get my little whisk. I'm trying to make this just as easy and fast as we can make it for those people who work. Yeah, so the first time I had this cake was in the 1960s, and I was working for the City of Newport News, and we were taking turns bringing in different goodies in the morning to have with our coffee. And the girls I worked with, let's see, I think they were about 7 or 8 of us that worked up front in the City of Newport News Treasurer's office. And so we had a little calendar, and each person would have a time when they would bring something. And so my friend Janice's mother made one of these cakes, and it was so delicious. And I think she probably got the recipe from some of her friends at church. But anyway, it was quite delicious. All right, so now we're going to dump that cake out. So keep your fingers crossed. Let me get a plate. We're going to go for it. You don't want to let it cool too long in the pan, is my understanding. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3, and it came out. Very, very good. And thank y'all very much for all those who recommended this baking joy. I want to pull it back out. For those who don't know about it, there it is. You can find this at Walmart. It's really good, I'll have to say. So thank y'all, all those that suggested using the baking joy. Oh, excuse me. Baker's joy. Okay. All right, so we're now ready to put this sauce on the cake, which is still very warm. And that's what you want. You want to put it on while it's warm. because we're wanting it to soak in. Just keep kind of putting it on the top. Now this cake is really, really good the next day after you make it, or if you make it at night, it will be super good the next morning. All you have to do is just put some saran wrap around it, leave it sitting on the counter. Don't put it in the refrigerator or anything, leave it sitting out, and all this juice that you're putting on it is going to soak in. You just keep drizzling it all around. Yeah, now if y'all know of some good cakes that are really quick like this, y'all let me know in the comments, because we are really trying to do a whole bunch of recipes for those who work, who can, maybe at night make these different recipes or make them for supper. So this one, mixing it up in the food processor. Now in the 1960s, of course, I don't think anyone had even heard of a food processor. So you had to use your mixer to make this cake, and you could also find Apricot Nectar back then in the stores. But for some reason, I was not able to find it at all in 3 different stores I went to. So you could probably order it online. Alright, you just want to keep putting that on, because some of it's running off, but a lot of it is soaking right in the top. So when you leave it sitting out, put some saran wrap over it, and leave it sitting on your table or on the counter at night, and the next morning it will have soaked up all this juice, even from the bottom. It is a delicious cake, and especially since it comes from a cake mix, it's just surprisingly good. And don't worry about what runs down there, because that bottom will also soak it up. Alright, we've almost got it all on now. Yeah, and now one of the other cake mixes that was so good was with the Duncan Hines that had the recipe for the socket to me cake. And if y'all remember, back in the 60s and the 70s, a lot of people were making those pound cakes where you add the instant pudding. And then later, of course, the companies that make cake mixes, like I guess Betty Crocker and Duncan Hines and others, started putting the pudding right in the cake mix. But back in the 60s, that was not the case. You had to add, I think you added 4 eggs and 1 pack of instant pudding. I don't remember how much liquid you added, but they were very good and always super moist. All right, there it is. I'm going to let it cool a little bit, and we're going to cut this, and Mr. Buck and I are going to have a piece tonight. All right, we'll be back. All right, we're going to go ahead and cut this cake. It's still a little bit warm, and Mr. Buck and I both love this cake, so I'm going to cut us a really big piece. Now this is not a pound cake. It's like kind of like a regular cake, except more moist. And there it is. Can you see that? Where a pound cake would have a much thicker texture. Now, can y'all see it's still some juice in there? Can y'all see that? A little bit of the juice. That will kind of evaporate and go up into the cake, the moisture will, and it's so good. All right, I'm going to taste this for you because Mr. Bucky tasted of the apple pie last night, so I get to taste of this one. Give you a close-up of the way it looks. It is really, really good. In fact, it's just delicious. It's still a little bit warm too. Now that lemon, make sure you get a really big lemon, or either use two sort of medium lemons, but that gives it a little bit of sourness, which just makes it all the better. All right, y'all, we will see y'all next time. I'm going to go eat my cake and take Mr. Bucky his. We'll see y'all next time. I probably won't get this posted till tomorrow morning because it's late. All right, bye for now.